our first Hostfully University webinar. And Hostfully University, if you're curious, is really all about educating and empowering our customers, helping you understand different components and pieces of the system and making sure that you can adopt those pieces and components and know how to use them. And so we're planning on holding these webinars at least once a month. We'll start monthly and then maybe ramp up from there. And we're also trying to spotlight customers along the way and share some of our awesome success stories and how our customers are using the system. And so today we're joined by Ruth and Stefan with SoFlo Suite. Hey guys, how's it going?
Hey Bryce, hey Trace.
Welcome, thanks so much for joining. I'm also joined by my co-moderator here, Miss Tracy, on the customer success team. Tracy, thanks so much for jumping on here too.
You're welcome. Hi, everyone.
And so Tracy and Ruth and Stefan actually worked together through onboarding. Tracy was on our onboarding team initially. Now she's part of our customer success manager team. So she has a great perspective to share how we actually went about building out some reporting specific and custom to the SoFlo team and what they were looking for to share with their owners and to kind of wrap up an end of month booking type summary. And so we're going to walk through that today, and we're going to share some of the different components of reporting within the system. And we are recording today's session, so if you need to watch back through it, don't worry, you can do that. We know that this reporting stuff sometimes takes a little while to stick, and it can be a little bit complex. So we will record the session, and so feel free to watch back through that. But with that, we'll go ahead and get started. Let's jump into the system. And let's share a little bit of the magic here of enhanced reporting. So I'm going to grab my window here and let's pull that right up. Give me just a second while that loads. Okay, is that showing for you guys? Tracy, Ruth, Stefan, you guys see my screen there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. Well, first and foremost, let's just start with a quick overview of enhanced reporting. So if you're logged into your Hostfully account, you click the drop down there under your company name. You'll see a section here called Enhanced Reporting. This may be a little bit confusing. There are actually two reporting sections. One is here on the left. These are actually some of our original reports, some of our older reports. Still some great stuff in there. But Enhanced Reporting is really, we created Enhanced Reporting to replace that original reporting section and to allow you to customize your reports more. So if you navigate there into the Enhanced Reporting section, you'll notice a few categories across the top. First, our financial reports. We'll talk a little bit about those. You have fee-based reports. And so if you want to be able to pull information on the fees that you're charging or any of that, non-rent based information, you can do that there. We also have transaction reports. So if you want to see transactions or payments made, those transaction reports are a great way to do that. Logistic reports are really oriented around check-in and check-out, your operations and the logistics around guests arriving and departing. And so that's the intent with logistic reports. And then finally here on the end, we have the owner report section. We'll kind of finish up today's time here in the owner report section because we're going to talk a little bit about building out some of the foundational reporting elements of an owner report before we get there. But we will finish up here in the owner report section. Let's hop back over to financial reports here and just touch on a couple of different report types that you're going to see. There are actually three report types here in this section. There's a financial report, there's a booking report, and there's a revenue report. And then what you see here in our friends at SoFlo in their account, they've created some customized versions of each of these. And so underneath each of those, you see a few customized reports, and that's what those are. The financial booking reports are really very similar. They today are run based on check-in dates. So if you hop in here and you just run a default report here, default booking report, it's going to run that based on check-in date or arrival date. We are looking at making some additions to the date type, being able to run these reports by, say, checkout date or maybe reservation made date. But right now, those two are running by check-in date, as are many of our reports here within the section. The revenue report's a little bit different. I just like to mention it's more of a prorated report. And so if your business likes to look at bookings based on the actual days in the month. So if we have a reservation, for example, let's say that spans the end of November and beginning of December, this revenue report, depending on when you run it, it will actually prorate the revenue, and it will give you that revenue reporting based on the days that fall within the month that that reservation spans. So if you run a report for December, it's going to grab the nights that were specific to December and include those in the revenue. If you run a report for November, it's going to grab only the nights specific to November. And so that revenue report's a great prorated type report if you need to be able to see and recognize revenue based on a specific period of time. So today we're really going to focus on the booking report, and I'm not going to do all the talking, I promise. We're going to focus on the booking report, and we're going to focus on the owner report section. But before we get into that, Ruth and Stefan, I'd love to just kick it over to you really quick to share kind of initially, when you started working with Tracy on some of this reporting, what were you looking for? And kind of, some of the use cases and maybe how you were trying to help share information with your owners. So yeah, would you guys mind sharing that real quick?
Yes, so we're the booking reports with the different owners that we have, each of them are all unique. Some of the owners pay their own taxes. Some of them, we do it for them. Some of them pay their own cleaners. Some of them, we do it for them. So having a one system reporting just wasn't feasible, and it wasn't transparent enough for the owners to really see what was allocated to what. So with the enhanced reporting, we were able to break out in one of those, like for example, for Santos booking report, Santos pays for his own cleaners, he does his own taxes. So having him to see all of that when it comes out in the report and goes towards the owner, it's a lot clearer versus having to now get on the phone and say, okay, this is a breakout for this. It's so much easier for the owners to be able to reconcile their own booking, all of their bookings themselves when it's easily itemized one by one. And so with Tracy, what we did was for each of the owners, we went through all of them and we were able to allocate taxes to who needs to pay taxes, cleaning for who needs to pay cleaning. We also have a management fee that some of the owners gets it, some of them we get it. And so what it does is it just gives an opportunity for complete transparency and also for a clear understanding of what is paid out for each reservation.
Great, thank you. In addition to that, you kind of mentioned this as well, Ruth, but the different properties are located in a variety of counties, kind of, around Florida, probably all kind of around where you're located there, but each of those properties has kind of different tax needs. And so we're going to walk through kind of how we set up the tax reporting based on, the different locations of the properties too.
Yes.
Excellent. Tracy, anything else to add as far as kind of, initial requirements when you started in? I know we're going to walk through kind of one of these reports, talk about how to create those custom formulas and some of those fields and data. But anything else just at the onset that you were kind of keeping in mind as you jumped in with them?
Yeah, absolutely. Ruth was great because she knew exactly what was required for each county where the properties were located. So we knew which taxes we needed to report on. She knew the exact amounts. Everything was configured correctly during her onboarding, so it made it much easier for us to create that report. So she did a wonderful job.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Well, and related to that, let's just hop over here really quick, and we'll actually look at an example. This probably may look familiar to some of you, but we want to talk really quick again about the use case a little bit more so that when we're building the formulas, this makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But here we actually have a reservation. This is an Airbnb reservation, correct, Tracy? You want to talk us through, and Ruth, feel free to, Stefan, add some commentary here as well, but maybe just talk us through what we're seeing here on the order form.
Sure. So basically what we see when we're looking at a reservation is all of the fees, all of the charges that are associated with the reservation. That includes the rent, the cleaning fees, and all of the different taxes that we've set up. In this case, we have a state tax that's reported, and we also have some county taxes that we had to include when we did her configuration. So all of these taxes, all of these fees are used to create a customized report. So this information is really critical. It's important that not only to make sure that you have the taxes set up correctly, but to make sure that they're set up for each individual booking channel that you all are utilizing. Again, this is an Airbnb reservation, so it includes a lot of the detail, a lot of the information that you'll need, but it is unique for every single channel. So keep that in mind when creating your reports.
Great. Thanks, Tracy. Okay, so let's jump over and kind of get into the meat and potatoes here of our enhanced reporting section. So as we talked about, we're going to start with a booking report. The booking report is kind of the key report that you're going to use to pull into an owner statement or an owner view, because you need to see a summary of the bookings. You'll see here the bookings report that shows up by default in the system. You'll see an option here to create right next to that booking report. And so what we're going to do is we're going to walk you through one of these custom reports that's already created. But I did want to point out that if you're trying to, go through and customize, as we will today, and customize some of the formulas and fields, you're going to go ahead and hit that create button. It's going to ask you to name that report. We're just going to call this test, and we'll be able to go back and delete that later on. And then it brings us into the kind of default booking report. And so as you arrive here in the default booking report, you're going to see a few things. You can rename the report if you need to. You can set filters, and this can be pretty helpful. I will mention that by default, when we start pulling reports over into the owner section, that owner section filters by owner automatically. And that's so that you're only showing the owner's information based on their properties. But if you're trying to create a different report that you wanted to share or filter just based on a property and owner, you can do that here within the filter section. You can also specify which types of leads you'd like to view and pull into the report. We're going to really focus on booked, stay, and archives. So anyone that's booked a reservation, anyone that's staying or in-house currently, and then any past archived reservations for the month that we're looking at. So you can set those filters, save here, and those will take play in your report. You can also add a description. This is really just for your own information there if you'd like to do so. And then as we begin to work with the report, these fields, these columns that you see are drag and drop. And so that's not always clear by just taking a look at them. And also if you hover over them, you'll see a little tooltip with some additional information. But if I click this field and drag it, I can reposition it within my report. And so I can get the look and feel that I'm going for. Sometimes, and maybe Ruth and Stefan, you guys can probably weigh in on this. Sometimes when sharing with owners, too much information can be confusing, right? And so you can also delete fields. And so if there are any of these columns, that we didn't want to show, for example, the reservation number, big long number, the owner may not need to see that. We can click that, we can drag it up here to the garbage can, and if you release it, it'll delete it from the report. So drag and drop type functionality here. And then the field catalog, or all of the available fields that we have within Hostfully, will show up here in the catalog. And you can either search, which I recommend really just as the easiest way to find a certain field that you might be looking for. So if we want the cleaning fee specifically, I'll start that search, I'll grab it, and I can drop it into the report and have that cleaning fee show up. And any other fees or fields you want to pull in. You can also just scroll through this if you want to browse a little bit on what's available. So you have the guest type fields, and then as you keep going down, you have booking related fields. There are a variety of options there. You have different fees, which we'll spend some time on, and so on and so forth. So you have all these different kind of headers and sections that you can grab data from and pull up into the report. So that's kind of the basic navigation we wanted to share. Now we're going to get into some customization. And so for that, I'm going to actually go back out here to the main report section. You can click report templates. And we are going to start in with this Coolidge booking report. for our Coolidge owner set here. And for that, I'm going to go ahead and click Customize. So this is a report that we've already created. So I'm going to go back into Customize it. And to share kind of how we did customize this report, Tracy, I'm going to let you go ahead and jump in and share some of that information.
Yep. So as you can see, there are a lot of standard columns that are included in this report, but because we needed to pull in all of the information for this property, and we needed to pull in all of the taxes and the additional fees that were created, we did customize the report. We started with the custom report for the pet fee. The pet fee was one that we added when we configured the platform. So we needed to pull that into the report so that owners could see that fee. Basically, creating a custom fee is pretty simple. You just need to make sure that you're naming the fee the very same as it's named within the platform. And Bryce, if you'll show them how to add a custom fee, that'd be great.
Great. So if we hit the new formula option here, it will actually give us a brand new column layout here for us to use. Since we've already created some of these fees, we're going to walk you through what we did in order to set that up. But basically, when we were creating these custom formulas, we were either using a new formula or a conditional formula, and we'll talk about those in just a minute. But let's start with the pet fee, because the pet fee is just a traditional formula type field. And if I hit edit down here, you'll see a similar layout. We named it pet fee. The field name was also the same. That duplicates just automatically. You can choose to sort based on these fields as well. So if we wanted to sort our full report view based on the pet fee, and we listed the pet fee as the #1 priority and sort priority, then we're gonna sort based on that pet fee first. So that's an option there as well. But as far as the formula itself, you're really going to do most of your work in this big white rectangle that you see here. And for custom fees like this pet fee, we actually just do a search for custom fee, and we drag it and drop it in here. And you'll see it drops in the custom fee kind of parameters and formula. And then Tracy, why don't you go ahead and talk about kind of what you did here for the pet fee, and then we'll talk through some of these others as well.
Sure. So guys, again, this is where knowing the name of the fee comes into play when you're creating these custom fees. All you're doing is dragging that custom fee field into the box here, and then we put the name of the fee in between the parentheses. It's that simple. Once we do that, we save the report, and it allows us to pull in the pet fees in this case, or any other custom fee that you've created.
Great. You also have the option here, Tracy. I didn't mention this before, but you can set kind of the operating condition there for that formula. Many times it's going to be a currency type field, but you do have a percentage and number type option there as well. And then if you want that column to total up at the bottom of your report, then you'll need to check this box that says total column, and it will go ahead and do that for you. Okay, so the pet fee, pretty easy. Like, we're just dipping our toe in the water here, Tracy and Ruth. This is where it gets a little bit more complex, right? Getting into, you know, some of the different municipalities and some of the other fees and taxes that we have. So let's go ahead and jump in to this next one, Tracy. And this one's actually kind of similar, but maybe explain what you did here.
Yep. So in this case, this is our damage waiver / management fee. We gave it two names because Airbnb oftentimes calls a tax or a fee by one name, and then Hostfully, we call it by another. So just for the sake of being able to easily identify the fee, you can create the fee with two names. And in this case, we just use the / here to create these two fees. This is another custom fee. So what we did, again, was just pull in that custom fee formula. And based on the name that we had in Hostfully, we typed in damage waiver so that we could pull in the damage waiver fee. Now, many of you have gone through the onboarding process, or most of you have, or you may be in the process of onboarding, but we create those custom fees under the fees and policies section in Hostfully. And when we're doing that, we map the fees to the different booking channels. So they don't always have a one-to-one match. So we do the best that we can in terms of mapping or matching those fees. And in this case, we called it a management fee on one channel, and we called it a damage waiver within Hostfully. So Bryce is showing you where we've done that.
fees and policies. And if we scroll down here, we have the different fees set up. And here's the management fee. Here's also the pet fee. And so, Tracy, this is what you're sharing. We really have to make sure that how we name these fees, here in the name section is consistent to what we're pulling into the custom field in the report.
Correct. And as you guys can see, we call the damage waiver in Hostfully, but there wasn't a damage waiver option for Airbnb. So we chose the next best thing, which was a management fee. Again, this is why we have two different names, or we use the slash when we name this actual fee on the report.
Right. And this is a great point too, Tracy, because you also have one fee that's mapped here to Airbnb, and then you have the same damage waiver named the same way so that we can pull both of these in, but this applies to Vrbo and Booking.com specifically.
Correct.
Great. Okay, let's go ahead and jump back into our report here. Okay, so those are some of the fees. Now we're getting into the taxes. And just for everyone on the call, we'll take a break here after we kind of walk through a little bit of configuration and how to calculate these formulas, and we'll grab questions. So feel free to submit your questions via the question box there in our webinar. All right, here we go, Tracy.
All right, you guys, so this is where we get into the meat and potatoes of it all. As you can see, this looks a little bit different because this is not just a regular formula, it's a conditional formula. And it was necessary for us to create a conditional formula for the taxes because, again, each county has a different tax and each channel calculates those taxes separately or differently. With Airbnb, we had to go in and create this conditional formula and pull in the name of the actual tax from the Airbnb channel. So you can see it's pretty specific. It has the full name of the actual tax that we were wanting to pull in. But you'll notice with Vrbo, it's basically our standard tax formula, but we used a calculation to determine what portion of the taxes that were collected for the reservation would apply to Vrbo. Okay, sounds a little strange, but in Hostfully, when you're looking at taxes for Vrbo or Booking.com, most of the time you're only going to see one tax line. Because that tax line includes several different taxes, we then went ahead and figured the calculation to, again, pull the portion of the tax that would be considered sales and use for the state. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think so, Tracy. And as just to point out here, these conditional formulas, really what makes them conditional, what makes them different is that you can have a different formula, a different calculation applying to each channel. That may go without saying. Tracy had already built out this report, but here at the bottom, if we wanted to add a calculation for yet another channel, we can add a condition here. And basically each condition shows up as one of these little boxes referring back to a channel. So as you can see here, we're using Airbnb in this case, but you have really all of the channels that we can build calculations off of. And we can also reference other fields like, has an owner or has owner commission or security deposit as options here. But I would say most often when we are doing a conditional type calculation, we're looking at the channel and then running that calculation. So with Vrbo here, Tracy, this is safe to say that of the full amount of taxes that are charged, the amount, the portion that goes to the state of Florida, general sales and use tax, that's this decimal that we're showing.
Correct.
Excellent. Ruth, anything to add here? I know it gets tricky as we get into the different state and county, but anything else for our customers to keep in mind as they're doing this, or even any tips like how did you go find some of this information, just confirm the taxes and what needed to be paid?
Well, we had to do a lot of searching online. So we have our owners are throughout South Florida. So the different counties, one county has, one tax, and then there's the state, and then another county has a separate different tax. So trying to keep making sure that all of them are the same across the board through all channels. That was the challenge, because you can get into kind of a rhythm of just putting like, for example, 6%, and then you forget that, it's a different county, or, you didn't transfer it over to the different channels. So it's just being mindful of keeping track of the different fees. I don't know how it is with, any other counties, but with South Florida, we're special here. So it's a little difficult to keep things uniform. So it's just always being vigilant to making sure that we're getting the right taxes paid out to the owners.
Great, thank you. Okay, let's keep moving along. This tourist and development tax, this is a similar conditional type setup here. So Tracy, if you can talk a little bit about this one too.
Yep. So this one's a little different because this one only applied to the county. So again, knowing which taxes you need to collect is very, very important. Most states apply a sales and use tax, but getting into the counties, you'll find that there are different taxes that may apply. Some counties may have a transit tax or a stadium tax, things of that nature. Again, Ruth and Stefan did a wonderful job knowing which tax they needed to collect, and having that information on hand made it really easy to create this custom report. So again, this is a county tourist tax, and we did it very much the same way. We created a conditional formula so that we could pull the tax from Airbnb, and then we did a custom formula to determine what portion or what should be applied as far as the other channels are concerned. Okay, and what portion goes to the other channels.
Great. Okay, that's discretionary tax there. We're still going through taxes here. Most of these are very similar in that they're conditional formulas, but Tracy, is there anything else specific that you want to call out on any of these other taxes as we're going through?
Yeah, just guys, keeping in mind when it comes to the different channels, again, for Vrbo, if you look at your reservations in Hostfully, you see one tax line. They had several different taxes, some state and some county. So we had to create a calculation that could pull those percentages from that one tax line. Keep that in mind. It looks daunting, but the good thing about this is once it's done, it's done.
Yeah, and it's pretty well set, and obviously we're able to isolate those by channel. And so it keeps things pretty clean for you. Great. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the total guest payment field. So we talked about taxes, conditional formulas, and then just general formulas. But let's talk a little bit about this guest payment column, Tracy.
Yep. So again, different channels supply different information within Hostfully, and you'll see different line items in the Hostfully system. We needed to ensure that we were pulling in every single line item that was applicable to the guest total. Most of those would just be the rent, the extra guest fees, the pet fees. In this case, Ruth had a damage waiver management fee, so we included that as well. You can see from the Airbnb calculation, we also wanted to show what the host service fee was that was paid to Airbnb. So that's included in the Airbnb formula. For the other channels, of course, we don't have that there, but we did pull in all of the additional fees that were collected for reservations that are made on the different channels.
Great. So as you're building these formulas out, I'm kind of keeping it in this view. It's easier to see everything that's going on here. Again, Airbnb host service fee, one of the fees that we have available. These other fees and amounts are also available over on the left side. So you're really just dragging and dropping those and building your formulas. You may be going a little cross-eyed as I do sometimes when I'm in reporting, so don't worry. We actually have a few templates within one of our help articles I'm going to share towards the end of the call. And so if you want to start with kind of the foundation here, if you want to start with a report that has some of these conditional formulas initially set up, and then you can go in and just adjust the formulas themselves, we're going to share that with you, and you can actually copy and grab those reports right from our help document just with the click of a button. So hopefully that saves you some time, because I know sometimes when you're looking at this, you're like, oh my goodness, like I have to rebuild each of these. Just keep in mind, we have some resources to help you. You can copy and paste as well. And so for some of these, Tracy, probably as you're building them, you set up the Airbnb conditional formula, and then you may have just copied that formula down and then made the adjustments based on the next channel down there.
Yep. And I want to add, you guys, you'll notice that the Airbnb formula doesn't include any of the taxes. And that's because Airbnb is remitting those taxes. So we don't include that in the totals.
Great point. That would be a key difference that they see down here in the other channels. Okay, a lot of information there. Again, if we hit edit field, you can see the breakout here by channel. You can even kind of resize these. So as you're working, this the little diagonal lines here on the right-hand side, if you need to resize these formula fields so that you can kind of see the whole formula, just keep in mind you can do that. And also keep in mind, for those of you who've maybe been through some work in Excel and creating formulas, the parentheses and the brackets do matter. And so you'll see that we use a certain bracket type for the individual fees or fields themselves. So that's this kind of bracket. And then you'll see that we use the more traditional bracket right here for containing a formula. And so in this case, just to give everyone a quick Excel refresher, since the function that Tracy's doing here, she's just adding these things up. She can contain all of those within, one set of brackets for the sum and to add those all up. And then for subtraction, just to back out that host service fee, that's what she has that function outside of the bracket there. So keep in mind, brackets are important, and as you get a little bit more complex with formulas, if you have multiple brackets, just remember you have to count them up. I had to remember back to like my college days and writing Excel formulas, and if I have 3 brackets on the left side, I had to have 3 brackets on the right, closing out as you work through there. So just want to point that out to everyone. I know that gets a little complex. Okay, total guest payment. Now, as we're on the home stretch here, and we'll take questions in just a minute, let's talk a little bit about, we're going to skip balance due. This is just if there's a balance due for that guest and their reservation. Let's talk about these last 2 fields. These are important, Tracy and Ruth. This is kind of what you alluded to with different owner commissions and calculations. So let's talk about due agency and due owner. Tracy, if you wouldn't mind, let's start with due agency.
Sure. All right, you guys, you can see here, we've got a formula for what's due to the agency. And in this case, for this particular property, Ruth and Stefan, of course, are the agency. The standard formula is the portion that you see towards the top of the box here, the order base amount, the extra guest fee. That's the standard formula, and it would be times the agency commission percentage. Now, that percentage is set under the properties page under that owner tab. That's where you enter your agency commission rate. Okay.
There we go.
Right there. So what the system is doing is just calculating the order total, the extra guest fee times that amount. But in this case, they also receive the cleaning and the pet fee. So we had to make sure that we included that in the calculation so that we would get the correct amount that's due to the agency.
Great. And so that agency commission percentage, just to restate that, Tracy, another way, is dynamic based on the property. So if you go into each of your properties, you have an owner section there, and you select or you identify what that commission rate is. That's going to pull in dynamically to this report based on the reservation that we're looking at and the property that it's associated with. So saves you a little bit of work there. And Ruth, maybe just to mention real quick, you do have kind of a variety of different commission agreements with your owners, right?
Yeah, we do. Some of the owners, they want to, some are really hands-on, some of them are very hands-off. And so there are some that just want to be able to pay certain things on their own. They have their own cleaners, or, they want to be able to get the pet fee to pay their cleaners, or they want to be able to pay their own taxes or certain parts of the taxes. And we want to be able to customize that and allow the report to reflect that in their payouts.
Great. And that's a great point, Ruth. I don't know if I've talked to any customers that have the exact same agreement.
Right.
In some cases, they'll take this cleaning fee and their commission, they get a percentage of the cleaning fee based on their commission rate. And so in that case, we'd have to take this cleaning fee and we'd have to add it up here to the base amount and extra guest fee, and then could calculate the commission on that. So it really is very customizable, which is great. But you know, in some cases, like if you have differences in who gets what fee and all of that kind of stuff, you can customize that by owner and by property.
All right. And one thing, you guys, I want to add to this: when you're running the default booking report, the due owner and the due agency sections will include taxes. If the agency is set to remit taxes, that tax amount is included in the default formula. In this case, we removed that because the agency is not remitting the taxes. We also removed it from the due owner because we didn't want the owners to be confused about whether or not the amount that they're seeing in that due owner calculation is all for them. So we took off the taxes and we left the taxes in separate columns so that they could see them and not have them included in what's due to the owner. Okay. In this case, you can also see with this owner calculation, or with this due owner formula, this owner also receives the damage waiver and the management fee, which is the same. So we included that in the actual formula. The rest of it is the default formula minus the taxes. So you do have the ability, as Bryce said, to customize this calculation to include any of the fees that your owners may receive.
Great. Okay, you both made that sound easier than I know sometimes it is. And so again, we've recorded the session. We're going to talk about being able to go and grab some sample versions of these reports. But for just a moment, I'm going to jump over to questions and let's kind of field these and dig in and see what people are looking for. Let's see, I'm going to start at the top, work my way down. Chris asked us or stated, we take less commission on reservations provided to us by the owner. Is there a way to change the commission percentage per reservation so it's calculated that way in monthly reports? It's a good question, Chris. Unfortunately, there's not a way to indicate different commission percentages, at least within the properties section where we looked at the owners tab and you saw that commission percentage. Tracy, have you come across that? I'm trying to think if we could you could probably do a manual calculation. You'd probably have to do that after the fact, maybe out in Excel. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think the easiest way to do that, Chris, would be to go to the individual reservation and apply a discount. So if you're charging less of a commission, then you can subtract that amount from the actual reservation. Just go into the reservation and add a line item showing that discounted amount. And that way, when we do your reports, we don't have to do anything extra because you've already added the discount to the reservation.
Great. Thanks, Tracy. Okay, let's go ahead and go down to our next question here. From Kevin, on conditional formulas, can you set up the report so the report displays only those records meeting the conditional formula? For example, what if I want to have a report that just displays bookings with a checkout date of last month? Tracy, you want to take that one?
Yep. So when you are running your booking reports, you enter the dates that you want to run the report for. The booking report itself will give you all of the bookings in that date range. So if you're looking for anyone that checked out in the month of November, we want to just run the report for those dates. You're getting into, a little bit of a gray area because, we're going to include all the bookings that were created in the month of November. Bryce, maybe I'm off topic here, but.
Yeah. So, those conditional formulas do not filter out reservations. We are actually looking at adding some additional filters, Kevin, by channel, so that, if you only wanted to see Airbnb bookings, for example, back here in the filters that we were talking about on the top, we're looking to add that as an option for you to filter by channel. But today, these conditional formulas, let's say that there's a line item for a reservation and it doesn't apply, to that channel, that field will just be empty. It doesn't actually filter that out of the report. So I think that's maybe a little bit more of what Kevin was going for there. So there's not a way to do that. And then you asked about checkout date. Today, these reports run predominantly on check-in date, but I had mentioned we're actually working with our engineering team to add checkout date as a kind of anchor option. So you can say, no, just give me this report based on checkouts within the following date range. So today to do that, you actually have to push a larger report set out into Excel and then filter your view based on the checkout date. So it can be done. It's a little bit of a workaround. You have to push this into Excel, and that is an option we'll talk a little bit about here in just a moment. So let's hit a couple more of these questions here. So from Rich, when you get to run, period, how do we get more one-click options added? So this is Rich, kind of the same thing. He would like this year, year to date, this month, last month, next month, etc. A bunch of the quick clicks would save time. Another addition that we're looking to make in short order there when you click in to run a report. And so Rich is referring back out here again to this run section. This is also where we would add the ability to select check-in date, check-out date, reservation made, like what date type are we anchoring off of? We would add that here. And we, are also looking at adding some additional kind of canned date ranges here as well. Probably would add the option to filter by Airbnb bookings only to this kind of run report section too. So some exciting things coming, and some great new stuff that you all will see there shortly. Question here from Jody. I have 4 rental properties. Can I create different statements for each one? Yes, you can, absolutely. And in fact, that was the use case, Ruth, here for you and Stefan. You guys have a separate booking report, and each of those are customized just a little bit for each owner that you work with. I will say that the taxation is really probably your key guide on needing to create a unique report. If all of your owners and all of your properties are in the same city, county, state, you can really just create one customized report. You could customize the columns that you need, and you can use that same booking report in each of your owner statements. It will filter automatically by your owners and by their properties. The use case for all of these different owner reports that you're seeing, these different owner booking reports, are that these properties are in different tax areas, and or Ruth, we have a different calculation we needed to use for the commission rate, correct?
Correct. That is correct. Yes.
Great. So make it as easy as you can. If all of your properties, all your owners are in one place, one area, and everything is relatively uniform, then you can just use one customized booking report. You could create one, customize your columns, and then you'll be able to use that. And we'll show in just a second here in the owner section. That's where we'll jump over to next. Before we do that, just a couple quick tips here as well. As you run each of these reports, they load down at the bottom of the screen. And so you'll see that here. You have a few different options. You can view an HTML version. You can view PDF. Here's CSV. So if you'd like to do some filtering or manipulation that isn't available in Hostfully today, you can still do that, because you can push this report out into CSV, and then you can utilize some of the native functionality there in Excel to pivot the data, to filter the data, to do whatever you'd like to do. And so you do have, some extendability there with that. You also have the option here to share reports and share individual reports. And so if I click that, you'll see an option here to indicate an email address where you'd like to send that, what type of report you'd like to send, and then off you go. When it comes to some of these new templates that you've created, or even the default booking templates, you can also schedule reports. And so if you hit the schedule button here, you have some options here on monthly, weekly, or daily frequency. What time frame are you looking at? Last week, last month, last quarter, this week, this month, this quarter. This is a great way, by the way, if you're scheduling or wanting to schedule a report to go out to your cleaners. Back there in the transaction reports, we haven't really spent a lot of time there, but I'll just throw this shout out. If you set up a transactional report or a logistics report, you can set that to go out Let's say you want it to go out weekly and you want it to go out for this week or this month. You could send that to your cleaners and it'll send them all the reservations in a nice clean list. What do you want the report to look like? PDF, HTML, CSV, and then email addresses. So separated by commas, you can add multiple emails here for that report when it generates. The checkbox here for Share with Owner is going to push that report to the owner portal in Hostfully. And so if you have owners that are using that, and we certainly encourage that, you'll be able to push this report to the owner portal section, and that's what that Share with Owner box does for you. Okay, we are coming in on the home stretch here. Thanks for hanging with us, everyone. I know there's a lot of information. I think we hit pretty much all the questions. We are recording the session here. If we didn't get to your question, we'll go ahead and pick those up as we wrap up here. But let's go ahead and talk now. So we've created our booking report. Let's talk about getting that into an owner statement, into an owner report. So again, the booking report is kind of the summary of reservations. We can customize formulas and columns and fields, which is all great. But then we need to pull that booking report into an owner report or an owner statement. And so when you click into owner reports over here, you'll see that Ruth and Stefan have set up a couple of similar looking owner type reports. And these owner reports are based on the owners they work with and their properties. And so they've created customized versions of these reports here as well. You can also utilize this kind of default owner report, and it's going to give you some great information. You also have an owner's adjustment type report. And adjustments are really, think of adjustments as expenses, anything that you want to, bill to the owner or pass along to the owner. And so we'll talk a little bit more about adjustments in just a minute. But here in this owner section, you're going to see owner adjustments and owner reports. Now, when we go to create our new report, remember we were working with Coolidge, so we'll jump in here in just a minute. But just to show you how to create that new report for Coolidge and the properties that might be relevant to that owner, we're going to hit create. And right here out of the gates, we have the option to go ahead and name our report. We would name it based on the owner or property that we really wanted that to reflect. And then you'll see here we have options to choose which reports we pull in. So this is where our hard work back there in the booking report all comes to fruition. We can grab that Coolidge booking report, and it is now going to be associated with this owner statement when we run the report. You can also customize owner adjustments. We're not spending a lot of time here on that report today, but it's very similar as far as customizing. You just customize it here from the owner section, and you can actually customize a bit of what is shown to the owner with regard to their expenses or the adjustments. So we'll talk a little bit about that core functionality, and then we'll have to pick up that topic a little bit more on a future call. So as we set that up, we're going to go ahead and just hit create. And here's our new custom version of the report. It should look familiar, same layout, filtering ability, description, so on. The owner report is a little bit simpler than the booking report. And so we're going to talk real quick, and this will all make sense when we take a look here. We're going to talk about some of these fields, but the owner version of the report looks kind of like this. And so this is kind of the default setup. You'll see your property, your logo, if you have that loaded into Hostfully, as well as your contact information. Here's the booking report. So this is the custom version of the booking report. And then there's also a section for the adjustment report. So this is the one we'll talk a little bit about here in just a minute, but we haven't spent time on that yet. But the 4 fields in the financial summary, these are the fields that you just saw back here on the report that I was building. So due agency, due owner adjustments, and due owner net. These are those fields at the bottom, and these are really your summation fields that you're looking to calculate and add up all the reservation amounts due to you, the agency, what's due to the owner, and then if there are any adjustments or expenses that you want to take out of that owner commission, that is where the adjustments come in, and then we have our net number there on the right. So let's touch real quick because Tracy, I think this is important for Stefan and Ruth's use case. We did do a little bit of customization back out here on the main report. So let's just talk about, here's our Coolidge report. You can see we're pulling that Coolidge booking report as a sub-report in here, and then the generic owner adjustment report. But let's just talk about these really quick because this is where the taxes come back into play, right, Tracy?
Absolutely. So this is where it gets fun, you guys. The owner report is a combination of the booking report and the owner adjustment. So we're really not doing a lot of customizations here because we've done the work in the booking report. Again, we didn't include the tax in what's due to the agency or what's due to the owner. So you won't see that in the owner report once it's printed. You will see a different column for each tax and the totals for each of those taxes. This is where your relationship with the owner really comes into play as well, because you're going to know which of the taxes the owner is remitting or which of the taxes you're remitting. So supplying this report just makes it easy for you or the owner to do that. Bryce, if you'll go back to the owner report itself, we can show them where those totals appear.
Yeah. So let me grab that. Okay.
So you can see that each column that we created for the custom taxes has a total. So in this case, Ruth, if you want to talk about this report and who actually remits the taxes for this property.
So for this property, we're the one that remit the taxes. We didn't want it to show up as it's being paid out to us, and it's obviously not being paid out to the owners, but we want to show them the collection of it, the amount of it, and what we're remitting on their behalf. And so that they can use this information to reconcile their own taxes or for informational purposes, but being able to break it out and have it clearly stated, it really helps with any type of discrepancies or, any questions that could happen.
Great. Okay, let's just hop back here. Anything else to mention here, Tracy? I guess we should let everyone know these fields are customizable. The formulas here are customizable as well. And there are even some additional fields that you can pull in here if you'd like to do so. And if you don't reflect or track your owner expenses or adjustments in Hostfully, you could even delete that field. Now, there's not a way to take out the adjustments section, but you'll notice here, if you don't have any adjustments, it actually minimizes this category or this section pretty well. And so if you're not using Hostfully to track expenses or adjustments, you're really just going to see the booking summary for the period that you're looking at, and then the financial summary aggregating everything down here at the bottom. So anything else, Tracy, to add here before we talk about adjustments really quick?
No, just bear in mind that this owner report is a combination of the booking report and the owner adjustments. So when you name that booking report, keep that in mind. If you're using one booking report for all of your owners, you don't want to give it, a name of a property that wouldn't relate. Keep it generic, call it monthly booking report or something simple, so that when you pull it into the owner report, it's reflected that way and it's not based on any one individual property.
Great point. And again, as was the case, Tracy, back there in the booking report, if you don't need individual reports for every single owner because everyone is relatively uniform, then you can actually just create one kind of customized owner report. You can pull in the booking report you created, and this owner report is set to automatically filter by owner as is. So even if you just ran the standard version of this report, it's going to split out that booking data by owner and by property for you. So if you don't need this many versions of the report, then you don't have to do that. We're running up a little bit on time here, but I want to cover a few more things. So just back really quick here to the property section. I want to talk about adjustments. We looked at the adjustment report. We didn't have anything in there, but we're back here under the Coolidge property and we're in the owner section. You have the option here from the owner section to manage your owner adjustments. So for those of you who haven't seen this, we can click right in here And we have really two options when we're looking at owner adjustments. We have ongoing and we have one-time adjustments set up here. And so ongoing would be something like trash collection. If you need to bill them each month for trash collection, you could set that up as an ongoing adjustment, and it's going to go ahead and pull in each month into your owner statement. It'll back that out of their commissions. Probably more often what we see are one-time type adjustments. And so if you want to add a one-time adjustment, you can name that adjustment, include the date that should be accounted for, and that's going to determine which report it pulls into, which monthly report based on that date that you indicate there. The amount, if there's any tax rate, the currency, and your notes can be logged here as well. One important thing to mention, any amount that we add in here in the amount section that is positive is going to show up as a debit, or basically a subtraction to that owner statement. If you include a negative amount there in the amount field, then that's going to show up as a credit to the owner. And so what you see here for Ruth, oh, sorry, my mouse is giving me a little bit of trouble. What you see here on Ruth's account, there were a couple credits back to the owner in the months of July. So I don't know, Ruth, if you just want to mention what was going on there.
Yeah, so there were some damages that did happen to that owner. So we went ahead and we credit them for that, for those instances. And like you said, that's something through a little bit of learning that you have to put that minus sign to credit the owners.
Great. Okay, so those adjustments then will pull back out here. If we look at the owner report, those adjustments for a period would pull in here, and we would have those showing. So the adjustments section, pretty flexible again here. If you need to customize your view of that owner adjustment section, you can customize and create your own view of that right here from the owner section in Hostfully. And then one other quick call out here, and then we'll go ahead and grab some questions. If we go a little bit over, that's okay. If you can hang on, that'd be great. Is actually making copies of templates, making copies of some of these. So in this case, you know, as Ruth and Tracy and Stefan were working through this, if they got a report to a place, you know, where, you know, let's say they built the Santos owner report first, and then they knew the SoFlo Palm Beach version was going to be similar, you can actually customize, you can actually clone those reports within Hostfully. And so for that, I'll just reference over to our help center here. And if you do a search for enhanced reporting, you'll find a section called enhanced reporting templates. I'd encourage everyone to check this out. Not only do we have some helpful templates here that you can copy, we also talk about, let's scroll down here, steps for cloning a report. So if you need to make a copy of a report, you put a lot of work into some formulas, and they're going to relatively be the same on the next report that you're creating. You can actually go ahead and grab that customized URL, and I'll show you that here in just a second. And then if you copy that and adjust it just a little bit to include this import template, it will allow you to clone that report. So if we hop back over here to Ruth's account, if you right click on customize, you can copy the link address right here. And then if we go up into our navigation bar, I paste that here. Okay, and then what we can do is replace this customize, and just referring back here to our document, we need to replace that with import template. So if we replace that customize with import template, here in the URL, it's import _template, then when we hit enter, it actually will create a copy of that report. I'm not going to do it, Ruth. I don't I don't want to mess with your account, but it will actually create a copy of that report here within this same section. And so that's a real easy way to clone reports. Just to point out here as well, we have some templates I'd mentioned earlier on getting started here within reporting. And so towards the top of our help document here, you'll see reports hyperlinked and kind of categorized by areas. So we have month-end type financial report. We also have a great booking net channel report. And so this report, if you click here when you're logged into your account, it will actually copy that booking by channel report into your account with some of those conditional formatting that we took a look at with Tracy. We also have a few of these new here that our support team added around unique tax type situations. So again, if you wanted to, grab kind of a templated version of a custom report, you can click these links, and these are examples for different different cities in counties within California that are customized kind of by the taxes or fees associated. And so this can be a great way for you to start creating a customized report without having to do everything from scratch. And so anywhere that you see click here for a link, you can go ahead and grab those templated reports. We have a guest info report. We have an occupancy type report that based on the days within a particular month, you can grab a version of that report and use that. So check out our help article, Enhanced Reporting Templates, and hopefully that helps you get going. Also, if you have questions, feel free to always reach out to our team. Our support team is super knowledgeable on reporting, and also our customer success team as well. So feel free to touch base with us through Intercom. And then let's go ahead and jump over and hit a couple questions. I know we're a couple minutes over the hour, but I assume there are a few people that might be hanging on just to get their question answered. So next on the list, let's see, timeline or dates hoping to make a release of enhancements we spoke about today. So yeah, we're starting work this year in fourth quarter, December. We're in fourth quarter. We're starting work on that, and we're trying to target some point in first quarter to, have some of that new information updated within enhanced reporting. So should be relatively soon here, and we know that a lot of folks want some of those customizations. What's the relationship between the owner report and extended reporting? And the owner statement tab in the reports area. So the relationship is, they're kind of different, to be honest. And so the question is, there's an owner's report here under the reports section, the owner statement. This version of the report you can't customize. It is what it is. It generates. And again, this was really our use case for adding enhanced reporting. If this report works for you the way that it is and in the way that it's set up, great. You can use that. But if you hop over here to enhanced reporting in the owner section, kind of the default view of the owner report right here is going to get you pretty close to that same owner report. But as you saw, we can actually go through and customize through enhanced reporting, which gives you a lot more flexibility there. Is it possible to have more report template types, not just transaction, revenue, bookings? Can we develop reports on guests, properties, et cetera? Absolutely, we can, and we'd love your feedback on that. For anyone who has ideas on reporting, we'd love for you to pop over and visit us at our User Voice channel. If any of you haven't been to User Voice yet, you should definitely check that out. It's hostfully.uservoice.com. And User Voice is where we kind of cultivate and generate our ideas from our customers. This is where you can go to add new ideas. You can see that the ideas are kind of broken down by area or by topic. You can also vote on great ideas that you see here. We have a reports and analytics section. So anyone on the call, hop in there, take a look at some of the ideas your fellow property managers have submitted. And if they already have your idea, go ahead and upvote it. Just a great way, and really the primary way that we're looking at what we build next in Hostfully is through User Voice and through kind of the voice of our customers and what they're saying is most important. Jump back to questions here. Hi, we're based in Europe, yet the system seemed focused on the US market. Any plans to have non-US focused version? Actually, we already have many international customers, and there is both in language and what language you're shown, as well as currency you can customize. And so today we do support international customers and in fact have customers all over the globe. So touch base with our sales team and kind of find out more about your area and what your needs are. But I would say we're represented quite well in Europe. So check that out, talk with our sales team. Ian, being new to digging into reporting, this all pretty much makes sense and is daunting with little no experience. Does Hostfully have people who can work with or hired to set these up? Definitely something that we can help with and can have some conversations with you about. Tracy, myself, Ro, and Ashley are on the customer success manager team. We do work with customers to help, educate and help them learn to create those custom reports, as we did with Ruth and Stefan here. So Ian, I know we've worked together. I'm happy to work with you on that and try and help out. A few questions here, guys. So we're just going to pop through a few more of these. If we missed any, I'll go ahead and send you a follow-up. 2 of the properties are owned by an LLC. Can I designate LLC as an owner for those 2 properties? What do you think, Tracy? I don't see why you couldn't.
As long as they have an email, you can.
Yeah, there you go. Great. We talked about copying reports. There's some questions there. So again, go to the help article in the Hostfully Help Center there to check out some more information on there. Let's see. Which date field is used when selecting a date range? I think we talked about that. Let's check in date right now, but we are working to add some more options there. We've got the recording, a few questions. That's great. I know people want to watch back through that again. And I think those are most of the questions that we had here today. Oh, one more on the report. The format or currency is inconsistent on outputting the 2 decimal places for cents. Some have it and some don't. Makes the output look very inconsistent. I'll take a look at that with the team and see if we have something going on with that calculation. But thanks, Rich, for pointing that out. Okay, I feel like I did a whole lot of talking. So Tracy, Ruth, apologies if it felt like that to you too, but appreciate you guys weighing in, and this was super valuable to walk through today.
Absolutely.
Great. Well, thank you all. Yeah, thanks guys, Stefan, Ruth, Tracy. We'll see you next time. We're open, by the way, to ideas for Hostfully University. So if you have an area of the system you'd like to know more about, feel free to send those over to myself, Bryce at hostfully.com. I'd love to hear areas that you'd like to learn more about and add those to the docket as we move forward each month. So thanks everyone for joining in, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.